A tree might fall through this wall, kill me on camera, and if it does, Jordan, keep it in because the people need to know.
We're just gonna mourn and keep going to give you this content. It's just like, oh my god,
This is how serious we are about helping.
Hey y'all, what's good? Hello everybody, it's the cEDH. We are doing a very special episode of the podcast today, where we are going to be talking about probably the only thing anybody in the community is talking about, and we'll be talking about probably until the next thing that happens. It's been a lot for cEDH. I'm tired.
Dude,
I'm so tired.
You mean we're talking about Duskmourn this week, right? The release of Duskmourn? Nothing else happened this week,
nobody
right?
cares about Duskmourn. We're talking about a ban list. I don't think I've seen a single person actually be like, man, Duskmourn is so crazy. And that's not to say anything about Duskmourn, the set. That is just how much has been happening in terms of the cEDH community.
It's just something else way crazier happened.
Yeah. If you don't know, now you know. The Commander RC came out and gave us our first Commander ban in 6 years.
Was it 6 years? Something like that?
6 years. I think the last one was Holrichi, which...
Oh my god. I thought Golos was more recent. It's definitely within that time frame. It's either Golos or Hullbreacher. Yeah.
Which is a pretty big deal. It's something that has been a topic of conversation within the community for the past month or so, with a whole lot of... I'm not going to get into all the specifics of why, it's been so heavily volatile in the community. However, the RC made a move, and the RC banned Dockside, Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu, Winged Wisdom. So 4 hits is kind of nuts, dude. Coming from when we could barely get 1 in 6 years, we got 4, and it's those 4 specifically. Kind of crazy. The community seems split. I don't think that's crazy to say. How do you guys feel about it? How do you guys, yeah.
The community is definitely split on this.
Yeah.
That is a for sure thing. And I think something we need to kind of keep in mind is, at the end of the day, we all love this game. We all love the friends that we've made while playing this game. I know for sure I wouldn't be sitting here with these beautiful idiots had I not played this game. And there is a lot of negativity in the space, but there's also, if you look, a lot of chance for growth and a lot of chance to kind of come together as a community. And I think that's something we really want to put out there into the world and let people know.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah. I 100% agree with Chris. And I mean, to kind of add on to that, it's not hard to say that there's a lot of complicated feelings about this, even from the most well-intentioned, most optimistic of us. But at the end of the day, I think another element that we always got to keep in mind is that Commander, and especially cEDH, is about finding ways to take what has been given to us in the history of Magic, taking what has been given to us in this wild, unconventional 4-player social format, and making the best of it. And while I think we'll get into this later, while I think it's going to slow down our competitive format that we love so much, I don't think that means that we're out. The future's got a lot to hold for us, and we just gotta see where things take us. I'm excited. I want to see what new decks come out of this.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that better myself. I do think that it's, on one hand, however you feel about this, whether you feel that this was communicated thoroughly enough, whether you don't, whether you've lost money through this with investments, whether you haven't, whether you can finally own a Dockside, because it costs $15 now, and you're like, well, I got it. Congrats, dude. But or not. all that is it's going to bring change, and that's exciting. So I agree. With that being said, what change do we think this is going to do? I know, July, you talked about this potentially being like a way to slow down the meta. What do we think these 4 cards really do? Number one, I think the most obvious, right? Nadu's dead. That gone.
They took him out back.
Water. Yeah, crazy. I played with that deck for 1 month. And and it's so crazy, right? Because we're talking about everything being split. There were 4 cards on this ban list. I have heard everybody talk about 3 cards. Everybody's been like,
everyone's like, and thank God they finally did the every other format. He's gone. Like no one's. The only people mad are everyone in the Nadu Discord. Yeah, I am partial too because I was also been playing Nadu this last month. It has gotten me a top 4. I've had a lot of fun with the deck, but it has the same effect of when I look up and see the light leaving people's eyes. I'm like, okay, this is a problem, and I get that. But while it's not being handled, I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's competitive. We're trying to win.
And genuinely, people are ready for this. It's fun to play. It genuinely was fun to play for me. But alas, it's gone. Out back, old Yellard, and nobody besides the select few people who are playing it are upset. So that's fine. I mean, that's not fine. Didn't mean to say it like that. Please cut that.
Oh, TK. Ooh,
there he is.
Jingling keys.
Jingling keys took me out. I'm sorry.
No, it was supposed to bring you back. It was
supposed to bring you back from the storm.
I keep saying I'm not leaving. The recording is buffering, so I can hear you guys the entire time, right? And so just to see jingling keys, I'm like, all right, well that's funny. I can't. All right.
Here, you want me to go ahead and talk about this while you recover?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. In terms of the specific bans, and I said it before that I think the format's going to slow down. I think, I'm not going to lie. There are a lot of decks that I think are drastically either at the very least different, right? Like I was just talking about it with our buddy Jake the other day that I have my 2 monocolored lists. I have my Ashling list and my Orvar list, and the Ashling list is that turbo deck, and I genuinely believe that deck is fundamentally, it can't be turbo anymore. And that is a huge, huge change, and I think that's a change that a lot of people are going to be facing. Do I think... Oh man, how do I say this without, going one way or another? I think that it's a lot of potential and a lot of crazy new things are going to open up, but it also does hurt my heart a little bit to see some decks go, basically, And Nadu, I'm personally okay with it. I was high on that deck. I was high on that commander when it first came out. I saw the way it was playing, and I was like, I can see while this is a super powerful deck, super powerful commander, and I think it's exactly what represents the best of cEDH from a power perspective, I can also see the reasoning of it's not always fun to play against. And again, with it being it is competitive, but it is also the most social competitive environment we have. And if people aren't having fun, that is personally my priority in this game. And I think if more people were saying it was unfun than anything else, then I think it's okay that it's gone.
Yeah, I can see that. I literally remember being at the Open, and I was in the middle of comboing off on like turn 2 with Nadu. And I remember, how it goes. You're going, Shuko, do the thing. Oh, there's a field of that. Oh, there's a skip swarm. Oh, there's a strike.
Yahoo!
And I remember literally this Rogsi player looking at me and being like, well, that's not okay, right? And I'm like, you're so right. You're so absolutely right. And they should ban this card. However, Shuko. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those cards that they have already said that they did not think about that kind of interaction, right, with equipment and stuff like that. So, I mean, it makes sense.
I think I even remember a lot of people saying, and I don't know if, because I know you two were on Nadu for a minute, but I don't know if I heard you guys say it or if it was just other Nadu players, but I heard someone say the exact words of, "This isn't right, but until they tell me it's not right, I'm gonna play it."
Yeah, I think we both said that, honestly.
Genuinely, I feel like I remember saying that.
Yeah, I definitely have said that too. Like, I mean, sure, no, they should not have that, but it's fine. It's not the biggest band to me, though. The biggest band to me is Dockside. Okay, I mean, I'm still recording, so that's fine.
We're here.
I'm still recording, so it's fine.
Oh man, we talked about Chris going down. I think TK is going to go down with this ship.
Yeah.
But TK, why are we actually here? Or do you want to talk any further?
I want to talk about Dockside real quick because I think that's huge. Mana Crypt and JLo are also very huge. JLo literally being a card that was like made for the Commander format, so for it to be banned in the only format that it was legal in is kind of nuts. You cannot play that card now. Cube.
Oathbreaker, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, Cube. Yeah, if you want to do Commander Cube and have it legal, cool, awesome, great. You and your friends enjoy that card. But as far as it goes legally, that card is not allowed, and that's kind of crazy to me. Dockside is huge because so many decks utilize Dockside to an advantage. And now those decks are like struggling right now. Corvold is one that I immediately think about. That kind of goes away. Sisay doesn't go away, I don't think, but Sisay was able to kind of look at the table, be like, okay, cool, I have Sisay activation off this Dockside, cool, I'm gonna win. Then I'm gonna go get Aminato. Then I'm gonna get Nicol Bolas. Okay, cool, awesome.
Yeah.
And so they don't have that ability anymore. They still could probably play with like Bloom Tender and all the other pieces they had anyways, but having that quick and easy, and I think that's what really is going to slow the meta down, if anything, is the ability to just look at the board state and be like, and all of a sudden I have surpassed you in tempo with this one card. It can't happen anymore. Mana Crypt is big. Having a Soul Ring for free is really great, but I don't think that its impact is anywhere near the power that Dockside gave decks that were playing Dockside. So, yeah. That being said, okay, cool. You got it.
Well, I was going to give
a huge pause. I didn't know.
No, sorry.
I was seeing if Chris had anything to say on that. I just had one extra note on Dockside, which is, I think the reason we feel the hit of the Dockside more than the other cards is because of the non-Nadu cards that were banned here, this is the only one in a color, and this one is the only one that not every single deck lost access to, right?
Yeah.
Like Mana Crypt and JLo were by and large in every single deck, or at least in every single color. Dockside cutting out is crazy on that front because it does fundamentally, overwhelmingly change the way red plays.
Yeah. 100%. Chris, you got anything on that?
Not really. I think you both have eloquently voiced the opinions and viewpoints of change that I hold as well. Like you guys did good job.
And I think we could talk all night about it, but we want to look to the future. Isn't that right, TK?
Absolutely. We're not trying to be all doom and gloom here and talk about, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about some decks that we think actually got better with these ban lists, whether they are new decks who maybe, haven't had a chance to shine before with these bans and everything, or they're decks that just elevated themselves due to the lack of these cards. And so I'm excited to talk about them. I think we each have 3 that we're going to kind of spotlight, talk about why we think that is. And
I'm excited too.
Yeah. I there we go. He's back.
Yeah.
Looks out the window at the storm clouds. Can I punch a storm cloud?
Dude.
Can I hit this storm cloud square in the mouth to stop my internet from going out?
Hey, this is a call out on Zeus. If you keep this up, I'm coming. I'm going to Olympus. I'm come get you.
Yeah, I have a really good like mic setup and everything, so noise reduction is fine. You guys can't hear it, but it is like literally looking like I might be in danger. Actually, so that's fine. But yeah, we have three lists each. And yeah, we're gonna talk about them. And in the comments, if you have any lists that you think probably got better, let us know. Awesome, cool, great. All right, I'm gonna go first. And this is kind of I'm just gonna get the obvious one out of the way. Rogsi. Rogsi is a deck that everybody has already been talking about as one of the best decks of the format. And I think with these bans, it kind of has become the de facto leader in the room. And I don't think anybody is going to disagree with that so far. Did they lose things? Absolutely. As somebody who pilots the deck, Dockside is a hit. Mana Crypt is a hit. Obviously, you didn't really play JLo because there was no reason to. Your Rograk cost nothing. But having Dockside being able to be cast after Necros or Necro turns or J-Wills hits and things like that to be able to filter your mana and go into like your combos and everything was really great. Not having that anymore means that you kind of have to be a little bit more precise with your turns and what you're tutoring for and really rely on those rocks, your Springleaf Drums, your things like that to filter to the mana that you really need. The deck used to be able to produce a lot of red mana, and being able to filter that into other colors was really great. And still have some left over. It still can produce a decent amount of red mana. You have Bergie, you have J-Will, that's still fine, but not being able to filter that without casting things like talismans and things like that off of it is rough. That being said, everybody's losing something. And if everybody is slowing down, the fastest is still going to be able to prey on that. And Rogsi is by far still the fastest deck of the format. Being able to have their commander on turn one and nobody else, people playing these expensive commanders, these 5 drops, whatever, and not having access to JLo means that Rograk is now getting pretty much an extra turn to do whatever they want to do. And I've been talking about this with our producer Jordan for a minute. Literally, if you give me 2 or 3 turns, honestly, just 2, with nobody doing their game plan, everybody's doing setup, and you have not interacted with me at all, I'm winning this game, guaranteed. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. It lost some things, but most people were switching to like a Dark Citadel, like Dark Raw variant anyways. And I think that variant only gets better. They have now spaces for Goblin Welder. They have space for Transmute Artifact, things like that are built into the deck while still being able to play all of the other cool stuff that they were doing. Rogsi, de facto king of the format in my opinion. And so if you have been playing that deck, congrats. If you haven't been playing that deck and want to play that deck, now's a good time. So
yeah, I fully agree. When I was looking at different commanders that are coming out of this basically fine, I was like, Rogsi is fine. The Rogsi play group, as I saw it, because I've been someone who's dipping his toe into the Grixis world. They've been moving more towards, like you said, this Dark Rock. Like, you hit all the points I was going to name as well, which is funny. They've been moving toward this Dark Rock build where they focus more on a Bolt Citadel and a Necro to kind of go through their deck that way. Post Nas looks a lot worse for Rogsi because they're losing access to 2 very consistent mana pieces that they could cast after. So I think at the end of the day, I agree. It's not hit as hard as some people want the deck to be hit off of a cliff with a golf club. But yeah, I think he's gonna be all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think because I was talking about Rogsi as well. I think that has been one of the biggest conversations coming out of this. And I think the way I described it was Rogsi is in a room full of people who have just been left with their knives, and Rogsi is still the only one with a gun. Uh, and I think the biggest thing that's going to be changing from mechanically, Rogsi comes out way on top. No question about that. I think what we're going to see is a social shift because of that mechanical dominance. I think nobody's going to no one wants to give Rogsi any kind of extra inch that they now have. And I'm hopeful because I love Rogsi. I was also starting to dip my toe into it, and TK and I were talking about me picking it up. So I do want to see the deck succeed in my hands. But I also think that a lot of people are going to start turning their attention towards, okay, if my deck has to slow down, then I have to be prepared to stop Rogsi because they're so strong now, because they're so fast now compared to everyone else.
I almost feel bad for the Rogsi pilots out there because these cEDH players have a lot of bottled up anger that's going to be taken out on these turns sideways against these
the Nadu players especially. All those Nadu players are going to come out, roll up the sleeves.
Yeah. It's one of those things like Rogsi before, as you mentioned, like people don't want to give it any kind of inches because if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Myself included. But I think one thing that is going to be good to note is it's going to be a meta definer, in the sense that Rogsi is going to set the pace. Everybody is going to have to then look at it and be like, either I'm going to play the same game plan as them, or we got to stop that. And they're going to build their decks accordingly. And I think if people start looking at the meta from that perspective, everything will ship off as it should be. And it'll be kept in check. Like in terms of politicking, like any Rogsi pilot will tell you, like politicking is not necessarily, your politicking is telling them that you're not going to win right now. And they just have to believe that. That's really it. But so that's not really too big. It's really mainly just like everybody else is going to be playing a pace behind you, and now they're going to be utilizing deck building as their tool rather than what they were doing before, which I think was more so their on the play tools. And so you're probably going to see a return of things like Draenith coming back to stop like breach lines really quickly, or Dauntless Dismantler. I don't know. Maybe not. Dockside's gone. So
I can see like Rest in Peace becoming a card again.
Rest in Peace could be a card. Rule of Law effects could come back. Things like that. Just like hard stops to your game plan. We got to slow this down enough so that we can keep up. That's my thought.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to talk about Rogsi.
Yeah.
But I guess like in response to that, I offer you my first list.
Countered.
Oh. All right, Chris, go ahead.
No, you're good.
July has split second.
Oh, sweet! Thank you for the rules reminder. No, so the first deck I want to talk about is, for context, I was just going to be petty and personal and say Orvar, but then I thought about it more, and there's another mono blue commander that used to be a format definer, used to be running around all the time, and has kind of fallen off in terms of the tiers. But I think he's back. I think the Lord High Artificer is back. I'm talking about Urza. And I think what we're going to see, and this is kind of going to be a theme of a lot of my lists, or all of my lists, is that I think control is somewhat back in fashion. I think if decks are going to have to slow down, or at least certain decks are going to have to acknowledge that they have to slow down, right? And I think Urza is going to be in a prime position to come back with a fury of Stax. I think a lot of those Stax effects, those lockdown effects, like your Winter Orbs and your even the new stuff like Winter Moon. There's Harbinger of the Seas, all these kinds of things. I think Urza is in a good position to just kind of put things on the board early, those cheap lockdown effects, and grind through in the only a way that Urza can through all those Stax pieces. So I think that, and again, also another thing too, Urza's mono blue. So not only does it have all those Stax effects and all those lockdown effects, it also has the counter magic to back it all up.
So I think, personally, Urza's going to come back in a way of locking down boards, really like hammering home, I don't care what Rogsi thinks about the pace of the game. I want to slow down. I don't care about Mana Crypt. I don't care about JLo. We're going to stop for a minute. So I think that's kind of something we're going to see is, and more, especially like Urza himself being the archetypal control Stax list. I think he's going to come back.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. Urza takes a hit. I'm not gonna lie. Jeweled Lotus into Urza into 0 drop construct was a very powerful start for it. But in this slowdown meta, if you kind of jam your deck full more of those like cheap Stax pieces that are gonna like guarantee that guarantee you're going to see the next few turns enough for you to build up. I can definitely see it becoming more of a prevalent thing again. It's been a while since I've seen an Urza deck. I think I saw one at the last foil, if I'm not mistaken. But I wouldn't be surprised if I saw more Urza decks kind of rear his silly little head.
That little war crime enabler.
Yeah.
But no, I agree. I agree with Chris. I think JLo definitely is a big hit to the deck. I think any commander that's over CMC3 is definitely looking a little rough right now. But that's not to say that Urza doesn't have the tools to be able to, like you said, just slow the game down enough. I think Seed Order is gonna be a huge dependent on that deck. Because if Rockside does become, the more popular thing, more popular than TNK, if we're looking forward to this kind of meta and everything, and they are above you in priority, that can get rough really fast. Because you're now having to play catch up, and no matter how much you try and stop them, they've already accrued so much tempo. But that being said, being in seat 1 and landing, I don't know, like a back to basics or something like that. All right, cool. Now I'm sitting here. You know what I mean? Like now I'm not doing anything. So I can definitely see it.
Yeah, I think, and this is definitely a truism of the fact that it is a monocolored deck, and Jeweled Lotus especially enables monocolored lists. So I 100% agree that like Urza took a hit in that regard, but I think he's got a shot. I think you're absolutely right that seat order is going to matter. I also think the mentality of control is probably going to change. Like I know from my perspective, being a preferred control player, one of the issues I always found in some of my lists was I wanted to still be faster in terms of like advancing my game plan, and like would probably I found myself cutting some control pieces in favor of more acceleration. And I think the loss of the Mana Crypt, the loss of the Jeweled Lotus, might, at least for me, and I don't know how other control players feel about it, but I think it will recontextualize how we approach building our lists and recontextualize how we approach mulligans and all that kind of stuff. And I think Urza is an example of that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
Well, I'm gonna branch away from the control side, and I'm gonna kind of double down on something that TK said when it comes to this control meta, right? And a lot of these decks are slowing down. I genuinely think one of the kings of speed is going to kind of come make a comeback, and I've already started seeing it make a comeback personally. Anala. I think Anala is seated fairly well right now. They didn't care about Jeweled Lotus. That commander is staying in the command zone. If they cast Anala, their game is already done. So like they didn't really care about that. Mana Crypt is a little bit of a hurt. Dockside is a little bit of a hurt. But at the end of the day, this is a deck that needs 4 mana to present a win. And there is still a large prevalence of other rocks that they are going to consistently get there to show that speed fairly quickly, in my opinion. It's losing a turn maybe on its speed, but I think it's still staying at the upper echelon of its tempo, even after all of these bans.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, because Inala is always a deck that spooks me, right? Because there's just I forget that there's so little investment in the win of that deck. But as soon as he said that, I was like, oh god, you're so right. A commander that never shows up.
Yeah. I've been playing against John a lot, so Anala is like fresh on my mind a lot of the times when I'm thinking these Grixis speeds. I'm just like, I've seen that deck win out of nowhere on turn 2, and I've seen it pull a win on turn 5, 6, and I'm like, why? We know what it does. How is it able to do this? He's a good pilot that knows literally window theory. That's it. Yeah. So like, I don't think it really loses much in the wake of all these bans, personally.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that's an amazing pick, honestly. Like you said, they don't have to cast their commander. JLo doesn't matter. They only need 4 mana. Dockside's cool for getting that. You don't need it. There's a lot of other pieces. Mana Crypt, sure, but everybody loses Mana Crypt, so it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, I think that's huge, actually. And it's one of the very few decks that can play on the same axis as Rogsi. Which is going to be important, because I don't think there's going to be a lot. I think a lot of people are going to bank on like, okay, cool, we're going to have to tech these things in to stop Rogsi. I think you're going to have to. It's going to be a lot. You're going to have to really push forward in deck building in order to do that. So being able to forego that entire train of thought and then be like, okay, cool, we're just actually going to play on that same axis. You want to go fast, I want to go fast too. I think it's going to be big. Not a lot of decks can do that in the wake of these bans, and so Anala being able to do that is really big. Yep.
The number of times I've been skill checked by an Anala because I forgot that Anala does things like that.
Skill check.
You just look down and it's like, oh wait, that's 4 mana, and he just like looks up and goes, yeah, it's 4 mana.
It's scary. It's genuinely terrifying, actually.
So, do you know what step through does? Don't worry, it
Is
doesn't
on
matter.
your end step, wizard cycle.
Yeah.
I'm not getting Thoracle. Don't worry. I'm not getting Thoracle.
I promise you, I'm not.
It's a bad card. It's a bad card.
Yeah. So, okay. Cool. I guess it's my turn again.
Yeah.
With that, I think this is probably the best that TNT has felt since their heyday. TNT being Timna Thrasios, there is a small collective of boomers that have played cEDH since TNT was like the best deck in the format, and they've just been waiting.
In the shadows.
They've just been waiting. And what really took that deck off, right, was just the explosion of red. Red came out of the woodworks, out of nowhere, and really came up and was like, hey, now you are required to play red if you were trying to win a tournament. Now you're required to play red. And Dockside was a really big part of that. Dockside now being gone, ramp is huge. And TNT plays on the same axis that Blue Farm does, in the fact that it is just a good pile of the cards that are in its colors. When built correctly. There are different versions, but when built correctly, that is what TNT is supposed to be. Both of them are card advantage engines that do not cost more than 3. Both of them are low to the ground commanders, and you have the ability to play Thoracle combos, which is super concise. And their one weakness is OBM, which a lot of people are like, oh, but OBM's still going to be around. Yes, please remember, OBM is not the meta piece, it is the anti-meta piece. It is there to keep in check what is in the meta, not necessarily because it is meta. There are very key differences between that, and I think that's just going to happen. OBM is going to have to be there to keep in check the ramp that is happening, not necessarily you're not going to play it because you're scared of it. That's my thought. Because sure, you get OBM out and you start shredding away. That's fine. By that time, theoretically, I should have already gotten my Thrasios activations off, and I'm already looking at winning the game. Yeah, they also have gotten new tools that a lot of people have not been exploring because they have not looked at the deck because red was a thing. Why would I play TNT over TNK? That doesn't make sense. There's Dockside. I'm just going to play Dockside. I'm going to play Breach. Why would I do that? They have gotten Talion as another card advantage engine. Valley Floodcaller not only gives them access to instant speed wins, but also another win line with cards like Refraction Helix, and there's another one that does the exact same thing.
Something knack, like
Banishing Knack. Yeah,
Banishing Knack.
Yep. You have access to the Rhystic Mystic combo as well. One Ring is still there. Poliwag Prodigy is still there. If you want to banish, punish card draw, they can play Children. They have so many ways. They still get all the Black Tutors. Demonic Council is a thing. There's a lot that this deck has gotten that a lot of people just have not thought about because, the Mockingbird thing with Ranger Captain, all of that is in that deck. All of that is there. I'm reconnected.
There we go.
All of that, yeah, all of that is there. And so I think this is probably the best that it's seen in a very long time, and especially when Crom now costs 5 mana, and you can no longer just mana crypt your way into it, or JLo your way into it, or Dockside your way into it. This is a good look. It's a really good look, and I've been playing the list in our circles on our channels for a little bit, and I think I have about 30 games logged on it, and my win percentage is very close to 50%. Now, that's not me trying to humble brag. That's me saying I'm surprised. I feel like I should not have that.
I thought what you were going to say was that's not me trying to humble brag. That's just me trying to actually brag.
No. That is me. I expected it to be way lower, and it is not. And with these bans, they, like I said, they lost Mana Crypt, and I guess you could have played JLo if you really needed your Tymna out like that, but you can cast Tymna very easily without it. And Mana Crypt, everybody lost Mana Crypt, so that's not like a knack on the deck in itself. That's a knack on the meta. And yeah, I think TNT is going to be very well positioned. I think the core that have been hanging on to it are going to have to work with some deck building. They can't play the same TNT they were playing back in 20 whatever. Don't do that. But if you can really work with the deck building and everything, I think it's going to be an amazing show moving forward.
Yeah, I fully agree. I've been seeing you pilot that deck here lately, and every time I look over at it, I'm like, dang, man, it really did get access to some really cool tools. And people, like you said, are just kind of sleeping on it. It's like, this is better right now. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but you might be ahead right now with what you're doing, but that second place is right here. I'm getting just as good stuff as you, I swear. Poliwag Prodigy is a huge hit for that deck, and I don't think people really understand just giving it another consistent card draw. Both its commanders trigger the evolve. If you do Poliwag on 2, Tymna on 3, Thrasios on 4, you're drawing a lot of cards.
No.
Mockingbird, Ranger Captain, like you said, I think it's well positioned for sure.
Yep.
And watching you pull off those Valley Floodcaller loops, really just broke my brain. It's like, why? You shouldn't do this. This isn't. No,
Yeah.
stop.
If you guys don't know the combo that we're talking about, Banishing Knack is an instant speed, 1 blue mana instant that says target creature you control gets the following ability of tap, return target non-land permanent back to the owner's hand. If everybody knows what Valley Floodcaller does, it gives you instant speed for all of your non-creature
Just non-creature spells. Yeah.
spells. But the important part of that is that it untaps itself whenever you cast non-creature spells. So you target it with the Banishing Knack or the Refraction Helix, give it that ability as long as you have any mana positive rock, which of course Mana Crypt now is gone, so that does kind of suck. But Mana Vault works, Soul Ring works. Literally, there's a lot of ways to do it.
Mox Amber,
even because theoretically you hopefully would have Thrasios on the board while you're doing this. You get to make infinite mana right there at instant speed, which is really funny because you just kind of wait until people are presenting wins and everybody's fight over it. You're like, oh yeah, I guess I got something. Here you go.
Yeah. Do you have an answer to this? And TK's like, yeah, I have a win.
Yeah. Woo! You just keep going. And it's also really funny too because the Otter is also getting +1/+1. So
Get big.
If it gets
big.
if you feel as though somebody might have something or there's something going on, you could also just kind of do it on your turn and then just hit somebody really hard with a big dumb otter and then go off and win. Like, it's really funny.
Yeah. As Chris mentioned before, seeing you play the TNT list in the modern age it was spooky. It's scary. It's crazy that it does as well as it does, and I think you're right. It's gonna just do even better. And like, you were talking about Mockingbird, which I think is a great moment to talk about very quickly. The clone meta, which there's been a lot of discourse about whether the clone meta changes, and I think TNT is a great example of we'll probably only see going forward 2 or 3 clones in most decks, and that's Phyrexian Metamorph, Mockingbird, and maybe Imposter Mech. And that Mockingbird easily outclasses like Fimages of old because of the fact that you can search it with Ranger Captain, and TNT being able to do that is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to silence your opponents and then also get another Tymna attacker on that is really great. Especially if you already went for it, because the game plan is very similar to TNK, where you're just trying to get some sort of card advantage engine online and then you're going. And so you already have Esper, cool, here's a Tymna attacker, and it flies. Whee.
I saw a really cool thing. I think it was you, TK, who did it, where you had enough mana to cast Ranger Captain, go grab Mockingbird, cast Mockingbird for 3, copy the Ranger Captain, go get Esper Sentinel, then play Esper Sentinel, and have 2 Ranger Captains, one of which flies, and the Esper Sentinel, all on the field.
One of my favorite things to do, genuinely, because normally if I'm going for that means I have the win for next turn. And so it's like, okay, cool, I'm just going to have this, stop whoever is right above me. Cool, awesome, and then I'm just going to crack this on my upkeep and win right now. Yeah. And get card advantage while I'm doing it. So yeah, I love doing that. Mockingbird's sick.
Yeah. TNT's goofy.
Yep.
But I guess that brings it back to me, right?
Yep.
So the next list I want to talk about is a deck that we actually did on the channel not too long ago with our buddy Max, aka Wounded Satellite. And that is Balin the Haymaker. I think this deck, again, similar to the Urza deck, I think the Balin stack strategy is just going to double down. I think slamming a noof on the table on turn 1 or 2 is going to be what that deck wants to do, and I think following it up is always going to be the now de facto treasure card, which is Smothering Tithe. Because Balin just doesn't care about how explosive their mana is, at least as the way I've been seeing it, and the way that, like, for example, when we had Wounded on, the way he played it, like, the explosiveness helped, but that stack strategy, that grindy way of playing the game, I think Balin is going to be encouraged to double down on. I think the ramp strategy of green is going to help that deck a lot. I think the stacks effects of white, the rule of law effects, as we were talking about earlier, those are going to be really huge. And I think red is kind of just an additive card that if you really, really wanted to, you could just dip into the red stacks cards. Go ahead and play a Stranglehold. Go ahead and play a Blood Moon. Balin's going to fix your mana for you with your token generation. I think Balin has an opportunity to... I think we were talking with Jordan about this last night, our producer Jordan, where Balin just became the de facto best Naya commander in the wake of this ban. I think it was always a toss-up, especially with like Rocco, because Rocco just being able to put the Dockside into play and go off from there was huge. But now with this change, I think Balin, by and large, just changes and it becomes the top nihilist overwhelmingly. And I think it's something we've been kind of doing recently with our videos, which is showcasing some more of those controlling pieces that haven't been seeing a lot of play. Like a card that I think we've seen a couple times in our channel is Aven Interrupter, a backup Dranith card. We've been talking about cutting Dranith from a lot of our decks. Dranith's probably going to go back into a lot of those decks. So I think what we're going to see is Balin coming out as a very powerful Naya list that wants to play the Collector Oof. It wants to play the Smothering Tithe. It wants to play all of these lockdown effects, and it just wants to sit there. A turn 1 or turn 2 Oof is very, very easy, even with the loss of the Mana Crypt and the Jeweled Lotus and the Dockside. Literally all it takes is land, Lotus Petal, Oof. And I think that's going to be a huge way for Balin to kind of pivot into and double down on.
I can see that. When looking at Naya decks specifically, Naya decks don't really get all that much love. That is for sure. When looking at the best Naya decks that are in the format, you're looking, like you said, toss up between Balin, toss up between Rocco, and the fact that Balin is 3 mana, whereas Rocco is 3+ mana, and the fact that Rocco relied heavily on Dockside loops, whereas Balin gets to play Dockside loops, are two very different things. Mm-hmm. I think it needs to be said that it loses its clean win.
Yeah.
And I think it does have to take a transformation into maybe closer to like a Kiki list to
Probably
have its solidified I win button. I know when we looked at Wounded's list, he took out the Kiki combo in favor of drawing in and being able to do a Dockside loop with a blind obedience. Obviously, cannot do that now, but these incremental token generations, I think the deck does kind of come out on top of the Naya food chain, as you were. So I can see that.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think watching Max play Magic all the time is just a sight to see, because dude just knows what to do, specifically in Commander, but specifically that game. Balin did not need Dockside. It was cool to have, obviously, but it was not a necessity. Whereas for certain Naya decks, like, that was the plan, was, right? Like, I'm just going to drop this, and that's going to be the game plan. Awesome. Sick. So I do think that's going to be really cool. And there's so many other ways in those colors to make tokens. It's not even funny. Like, sure, Dockside is the number one where we think about, just because we were used to it. But, I'm thinking about whatever the Manatee one is, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, that one, or like the Charismatic Conqueror. Like, there's so many different ways to just make tokens in that deck. It's not even funny. So yeah, I agree. I think Balin's pretty hot.
Yep. And this is a message to Max. we can put Old Gaffer back in that list now. we can put that card back in. It's basically Balin's Dockside. I don't know what he would think of the list now, but yeah, I think Balin's got a good shot coming up.
I can see that. In the line of thinking of Stax, right? I do genuinely think we're going to see the uprise of a lot of Stax decks kind of trying to take the stranglehold. We were in mid-range hell for the longest time, right? For 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, Turbo was like, bang, this is my shot, baby. We got it. We're zooming. Bah, 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 bah. And everyone was like, okay, these games are going on too quick. This is making a bad name. I do think that with the reduction of these fast meta pieces, the Stax players are going to come out and they're going to say, time for my turn. And with that, I think one of the more prevalent ones is probably going to be Tyam. I think Tyam sits pretty nicely into this, no Jeweled Lotus, no Dockside. Like, Tyam is a deck that I'm not going to start and say I know everything about Tyam. Tyam players don't know everything about Tyam. That deck is the dumbest deck I've ever seen in my life when I watch people pilot that deck. One thing
I think that feels so true.
I've legitimately, and I'm gonna stop after this. I've seen them go, I don't know. This? What are you talking about? And they win, and they do it fine as long as they get that time to set up. And I think the loss of these fast mana pieces is going to allow them that time to kind of get their time out on time with, a turn 1 Deafening Silence, stopping these Rogsi and Nala players, into turn 2 Drannith Magistrate, turn 3 or 4 Tyam and start activating. Don't forget the Hex Drinkers, all the little things it needs, all the dumb cards that nobody knows except for Tyam players know. I think they are going to sit very well, and I think I wrote it down somewhere. I made up a funny name for it. It was like Tyam's titty bar of titacular time. Of what? Yeah, I don't know. We'll cut that. It was really bad. But when I was at work, I was like, "Yo, that's hot!" Like, it was like Mardu Summer, Nadu Summer. I was like, "Bro, this is fucking." Tyam's titacular, whatever, winter.
Titty-tacular, probably.
Titty-tacular winter or something. It's written down on my desk at work, and I swear to God, if someone comes over and sees that, I'm going to have to probably go to my HR.
Oh, I do want to see that conversation of you sitting down in HR and they're just like, so can you talk to us about this Tyam?
Just take a long drag of a cigarette. You wouldn't understand.
like Joker. You wouldn't understand.
You don't have the amount of time I need to explain that deck. Anyway, I do think that aside, cutting that aside, I think Tyam is going to be well positioned going forward with all these other little silly Stax decks that plays on this such a weird axis that no other deck really plays against.
Yeah. TK, you want to talk about that real quick?
I hate Tyam.
Well,
I absolutely hate Tyam. I genuinely I can't stand that deck. And I don't say that about many decks. I'm very much a person that's like, oh, that's so great. Like, yeah, originality, all that stuff, that's so great. I can't stand that. Like, no. So if that's the case, I'm gonna be a very upset TK this next meta, dude. Genuinely, anybody who's seen like my stuff with Plan of Power knows like Tyam takes up the clock, bro. And when there is no clock, it's rough. Because the thing about Tyam, like you said, Tyam players don't know Tyam, and so they're over there stacking out the whole game. Nobody knows. Like, oh, okay, cool. How are we playing? I can't play. Do you have win now? And they're like, legitimately, I don't know. I can't. And so now everybody's sitting there trying to help the Tyam player win because I'm not winning and we need to go. So it's like, all right, well, like, I don't know what's in your graveyard, bro. You could probably combo with that. And now it's four players all trying to play this one deck, and nobody knows how to play it. No, bro, I don't want time to come through. But I agree with you. I agree that it's gonna be good. I agree that it's gonna be great. I just really wish that wasn't the case.
Man, as soon as you said the Tyam quote of "I don't know if I win or not," it just made me immediately. I have to defend them because I say that all the time when I'm playing my deck. I don't play Tyam, but I say it too.
The visual of 4 players all in one pod, all trying to help the one player play and win, so that we could all. I don't want to see that again, man. You're like, okay, well, you could probably like use that, right? Like that gives you more counters, right? And then you just pay the 3 here, and then you get there and you're like, dang, that's not a win. All right, well, like hold on, take those actions back. We're all okay with that. Like,
yeah, I do think though that Chris is right, 100%.
I 100% agree,
and
that
wish
makes me angry.
I wish I had more to say about why I think that's true, but I don't know the deck. I learned I was playing a spell table game the other day where I was playing against a Tyam deck, and I legitimately think that was the first time I realized it does something with counters because I just didn't understand it. So, like, but that being said, I have seen. While I didn't understand the gameplay, I've seen the Tyam gameplay. I've seen how it keeps taking game actions, and I see how it keeps playing Magic while also locking everyone out. And I think Chris is right. I think it has a prime opportunity to say, "I guess I'm back." Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back, John Wick style.
And another thing too, like the Stax pieces that it has, like they don't go away. You have to exile them, right? Because they go into the graveyard.
It comes right back.
It just comes right back. So the game is still like they get a rule of law effect. You're stuck, brother. Like it's over. We're not playing this game. Like
it's okay, TK. You're in a safe space. You can talk about these things.
I feel like Kratos, or I'm like
let these things out.
I feel like Kratos is like, Rogsi! Make sure Tyam comes back, and my life is yours.
Chris, you and I had the same experience, right?
Yeah. You froze up, and then out of nowhere, what?
We were just like, whoa!
Yeah, that's how I feel inside. But
I know that Kratos shout anywhere, though.
Yeah, and all 4 Tyam players are gonna comment and be like, "Oh, hey, TK, you're being way too rough on us. Fight me."
You heard him. He wants to fight you.
I'll take it. No, you guys are fine. Just like stop.
They're all gonna work together to fight you because they don't know how to do it individually.
Burn! Suck on it.
In light of this positivity, what's your third deck?
What do you got for us, TK? What's your last deck?
My last deck is Winota with the asterisk, being any deck that can play Blood Moon efficiently, because Blood Moon is a really great Stax piece. You all have mountains. The reason why and Blood Moon was not great before was because everybody could just Dockside their way out of it.
Oh, this is red?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, sick.
Oh, nice.
This gemstone produces colored mana now? That's super sick, dude.
Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate that, homie.
Looking out for you, homie.
Literally. Like, and that was the reason why people got off of Blood Moon. It was like, man, you could just Dockside your way out of this. This is pretty cool. And so now Dockside's not around. Red kinda, unless you are in the colors of red and like are Godo or Ashling or like whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like Blood Moon kind of hurts now. Like, you can't just get your way out of it. You have to be playing your red cards in order to do it, or you have to have, your rocks and everything, and you can't accelerate into them with Mana Crypt anymore. So it hurts. And the reason why I think Winota specifically is the one that I picked off the top of my head is just because I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, J-Lo into Winota was really great. And that's so true. You are so valid, and that's real. However, the Winota pilots that I have seen play that deck, most of the time their turn one is either setting up the Winota attackers off rip and playing, the Memnite, the what's the Ornithopter, all of those things. They set those
They're
up.
Rograx.
Yeah. Or they're playing a rule effect or some sort of Stax piece on turn one, and then they're just going to get to Winota then. And by the time Winota hits the board, you have already lost, my brother, because they have 6 triggers. So, yeah, don't get me wrong, turn one Winota is really cool, but I think a lot of Winota pilots have realized turn one Winota is only as good as your Winota triggers are. And if I don't have Winota triggers, there's no point in me casting Winota right now. So I'm going to Stax at the table. I'm going to set up these attackers. And then I'm going to set up these, Winota triggers. I'm going to set up these Stax pieces. And then, boom, when Winota gets out, you guys are dead. Cool. And Blood Moon is now being back is just another piece that they have.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's I think all the times I've lost to Winota, it's never been to a turn one Winota Ornithopter, turn two swing, here's my blah blah blah. It's always been the slow incremental, and if they did Jeweled Lotus out of Winota, it's because they also played other things alongside, like turn 3 or turn 4. So I could definitely see Winota making its little rear in her silly little head. She's gonna get shot down again really quickly. But I think she'll have that high time, right? Where it's yeah, we're back. Woo! Wait a second. Where's my incinerates? Where's my 4 damage dealing thing?
Yeah. Lua, you got 2 weeks. You got 2 weeks to play the deck. You got 2 weeks.
Then we're coming for you.
You got 2 weeks.
Take her to a tournament, win, enjoy your life, enjoy the limelight.
Have a great time.
Get your top 16.
Yeah, you better get Paco hauled and back out of the shed. That's all I'm saying. You got 2 weeks.
But yeah, I think she'll see some a definite uptick in play for sure.
Yeah, well, and especially too since the last time I've seen a Winota, so many more Boros cards have come out that I'm like, oh, if I was in those colors, I'd play the crap out of that. High Noon is crazy. Mm-hmm. A honest to God rule of law that shoots something in the face for 5 whenever you decide is just. That feels so Winota coded in my mind. And that's just one of the cards that I can think of off the top of my head where it's like, okay, you're right. Winota's going to come back, and it's kind of like I was talking about with Balin earlier. It's going to double down on the stacks. It's just going to be like, cool, I don't care about my Winota. I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, I'm just going to Stax it out and play a Nim, make some gnomes. I'm gonna play Clown Car and make whatever Clown Car makes. I don't remember.
It makes clowns, TK.
Does it make clowns? Are they artifact clowns? Well, it's like something
I think they're
weird, right? Yeah.
They're clown robots, I think.
There you go. Yeah, that's why I was
they're not humans. Is the important part.
That's the thing, right? Rick is kind of hard to get out now if you're trying to cast it, but I mean, you just want to go into it, right?
Do we need Rick though?
Oh, Rick is Winota stable. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I legitimately know very little about Winota, so I don't
once
know.
Rick gets on the board, all of those hits are dangerous. That's the whole point.
You're so right, actually. Yeah, because they get you get 2 keywords of your choice, and then do they also get a Lord effect of just a static 1/1?
I believe so, and then they also are indestructible when they come out and tapped and attacking.
Yeah.
So it's rough. Yeah, Rick comes out, and that's when I'm like, all right, y'all got a board wipe? Y'all got any one of them board wipes?
Toxic Deluge stocks are about to go up. Actually, that's a call I'm gonna make.
Please give me a board wipe. You said you cut Cyclonic Rift for a into the flood mall. Put it back in, please.
Get it back in there, please.
Yep. Yeah, those are my three.
Yeah. Well, I guess for my last list, is a deck that TK introduced me to, and I wanted to get on it, and then I'm terrible with names, but I don't remember who was on it for so long. But Narset Enlightened Exile, the new Narset from Kai, yeah. That Narset I always loved, and I think Narset is a great example of what I thought was what I have called the Jeskai problem. And I think that problem is more solved now. And that problem was that Jeskai has two primary color pairings in it that pull the three colors in two different directions. It's the Izzet colors and the Azorius colors. Izzet wants to go fast. It wants to get all these things out as quickly as it can. Azorius, on the other hand, wants to play that control. It wants to slow down the game. It wants to do all these things. And I think that with these bans, Jeskai and especially Narset is going to maybe not go full control. I don't think that's true. But I definitely think that it is going to be easier for that deck to settle into a specific speed, which is, I think, what that color combination always needed, is that it was always all over the place on the speed it wanted to be, and now without the Mana Crypt, without the J-Lo, without the Dockside, it's like, okay, we'll take a step back, we'll pause, let's go ahead and do this our way. And I think Narset is a fantastic example of that. Yeah, it lost Dockside, don't get me wrong, that sucks. But as I saw from when TK was playing it, it doesn't need it. It does so unique of its own thing in those colors. It plays Breach twice, which is crazy. In my opinion, that's crazy. And it plays pretty much most of its deck twice. It has that redundancy that, sure, like, speed-wise, it might not be as great. And I don't know if Narset will be, tier 1, like the same way that I think Rogsi is going to stay. But I do think Narset is going to, put some brass knuckles on and show what those colors are all about. I think it has a really good opportunity to just kind of dedicate its early game to control, and really, it's really figured out its timing. It's gonna control for the first few turns, and then it's going to put its wins in the graveyard, or it's going to put its wins in its hand. Narset's going to do the thing, and it's going to beat face, and it's going to put wins on tables. So I think Narset has a really good shot of just showing up again and playing on a way that Jeskai was struggling to do because of that pull back and forth.
I can see that. One thing that I'm hesitant of, and maybe I'm harping on one very specific thing, is with the loss of Dockside, we're looking at a loss of red decks for a little bit, right? And with the loss of red, I feel other people dipping into other win lines other than Breach. So maybe you lose the ability, and like I said, this is probably not even a good point to like harp on and say, "Oh, you're wrong," because you're not wrong at all. I think it's going to hit that mid swing tempo wise that it wants to be a solid contender in the format. But like with the loss of Breach, the ability to kind of steal a win from an opponent's graveyard, which is one of the cooler aspects of the card, I've always thought. It's like, oh, you failed at your Breach line? Okay, combat, my turn. You do lose some of the consistency there. That's me personally. I could be wrong, and I could be harping on such a very specific interaction that deck gets to play that maybe I'm not fully aware of how the deck plays fully. It probably is only, for the most part, exiling its own graveyard to recast its own things, because that's genuinely what you want to do, right? You don't want to build your deck focused on what other people are going to do, because the second you want someone to do something, they're going to do the exact opposite almost all the time. So I think it's definitely going to be a cool deck, and I hope I see it more, for sure. I hope I see it more, and I think the slowing of the meta will give it some space to kind of run and show us what it's got.
Yeah. Shout out to Fervent Alchemist, Kai, friend of the channel, one of the coolest people in the community, genuinely, for kind of piloting that list and showing it to me. That list is super sick, and I do agree with Chris that playing out of other people's graveyards is like the best part of that card. Genuinely, like playing out of your graveyard is great, but the face that everybody makes when they read Narset and they're like, "Say everybody's graveyards? Yeah. Give me that tithe, please. Give me that." It's super funny. That being said, though, I do think that July is correct in the fact that, like, I think that setup, slow, methodical pacing is really cool because in the time that it's going to take me to get my Narset out and start swinging all the prowess triggers, all the blah, 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 y'all have filled up your graveyards. You have cast something, and I'm going to cast it now, too. And that's what I want. And if you don't, that's fine, because I brought my own stuff to cast. I got a Traumatize right here that acts as my Adnaz, and that's going to suck for you. But, you know, yeah, I think that's going to be really cool. The deck breaches, like, I think 4 or 5 times, depending on how you set it up. You can cast Breach twice, you can cast your Savine's Wreck, you can cast the Pull from Eternity as well, and then try and recast. Like, you got, like, the deck doesn't really win outside of that. Like, it can win with Jace. You can do that, which I found out the hard way one time, because I played against a Gitrog, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to mill you guys out. And Gitrog's like, I got a Shuffler. And I was like, okay, well, now what? What do I do? And I remember tweeting Kai, and I was like, what do I do? And Kai was like, don't change the deck list. And I was like, you're so right.
They were like, whoa, okay, yeah.
You're completely correct. I don't know why I took Jace out now. But yeah, I think the deck is well positioned, and it's always been super fun. Narset is one of those characters that I don't think has a bad card. Genuinely, like all of the Narsets hit.
Yeah.
Even the cards that just have Narset on it hit too, like Dramatic Reversal and stuff like that. Like, she just
I always forget
hit.
she's on that card.
Yeah, and then Narset's Reversal, she just kind of hit.
Look, all I'm saying is, I think it'd be really goofy. It's probably not what the Narset decks are going to do. Maybe if Kai wants to tell me I'm wrong, then I'd be more than happy to hear from them. Just throw a Mesmericorp in there as a turn 1, turn 2 drop, and then we'll be fine to play out of other people's decks.
That's funny.
That's kind of funny. Yeah. That's really funny, actually.
But yeah, that was my third list, was Narset Enlightened Exile. So I guess that leaves Chris. Chris, what do you got for us?
That is me. So in preparing this list, I'm not gonna lie, I still have 5 other commanders that I could talk about, which is good. Yay! Let's be happy that I genuinely be happy for me, at least, if not for the community as a whole. That I think genuinely that there are a lot of decks that are going to be benefiting from this. If not benefiting, they are staying roughly the same or can find a new axis to like play on, in my opinion. One of the ones, and I think I will go ahead and end it on this one, is it's gonna be weird, all right? And I want y'all to bear with me.
Is this the one that before we started you said was gonna be super weird and controversial?
It's gonna be a little controversial on the front end, right? I think Magda is gonna see an interesting window of how it can play. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're looking at me saying, Chris, you're an idiot. Dockside's going. That was their main treasure generator. And I'm going to look at you and say, you're stupid. Magda was their main treasure generator. Dockside was just a way for them to explode out of nowhere and win out of left field. Now, you're also saying, Chris, J-Lo, how are they going to turn one Magda? I'm gonna look at you and say, Magda's too fucking mana. Magda's gonna be coming out on turn 1, turn 2. Almost every game. Jeweled Lotus was not the reason why Magda could get out that quickly. And then you're gonna say, Chris, but mana crypt. I'm gonna say, shut up. Everyone lost that. Get okay, relax. I think where it is losing this weird turn the corner out of nowhere, boom, 10 treasures, activate, win right now. It is gaining this still an early commander that's going to be getting underneath Draniths, which I think are going to be seeing prevalence being shown up. 2, it has a wonderful, and I feel like we're beating this one into the death, it has a wonderful Stax game plan. It pulls Stax pieces, the perfect Stax piece it needs from anywhere in that stupid little library of 99 cards, and puts it right onto the battlefield at the right moment. If you know your deck and you know are very situationally aware, you're going to be able to build this deck in a more Staxy, creature-heavy variant rather than here's my combo out, I win. You're going to be able to pull out these God Pharaoh statues relatively early. We're still running all these really cheap dwarves that are going to hit the battlefield. You still get Clown card, activate crew, and do a quick, at least one activation to get out this said Stax piece and slow the game down until you can kind of accrue more value over time. I personally think Magda still does have a home even without these explosiveness for explosive pieces that the deck is going to be very sad to not have. I think it still definitely does the thing.
Chris, I rarely say this on this channel, but you are absolutely right. No, I actually think you're very right. I think TK and I, we were talking about this last night, and yeah, Magda doesn't fundamentally change almost at all. And I think you're 100% correct that it's just Magda's only 2 mana. It's the 1 or 2 drop, or 1 or 2 turns easily. It is going to play all of its Stax pieces. It's if anything, it's just gonna put more in, right? Like, it's just gonna use those slots to put more Stax pieces in. Mm-hmm. And that terrifies me. Magda is my tie for TK. I don't like it. I don't like that this is true. I think this is gonna suck. I don't want to see Damping Sphere become a card that more and more people play, but Magda's probably going to. And same thing with, like, we're gonna see them drop a Trinisphere, and as someone who I want to cast my spells, and I think Magda is more than ever gonna say no, diggy hole instead.
diggy hole is crazy.
Yeah. I don't think that's as controversial as you think. Actually, we literally were talking about that last night, and we were like, I'm gonna be real with myself. I've lost to Magda plenty of time, and not a single one has involved a Dockside.
Yeah.
Literally, it's always involved some dumb dwarves. I don't know what they do. They got Mountain Walk or something.
Yeah, one of them blows up a land. The other has Mountain Walk. The other has 7 brothers. It doesn't matter if they're dwarves that turn sideways.
Yeah, I mean that's really it, right?
So I must have not been there for that conversation, because I was like thinking about it. I'm like, man, they're gonna call me dumb. They're gonna call me stupid. They're gonna spit on me.
Hold on.
Hit me.
There's still the comment section, Chris.
Oh, that's true.
There's still. Yeah, that's true. They give you a pass. Give you 1 pass.
He said they like you.
They like
you.
They like you. But yeah, no, I personally think you are on the money with this one.
Yeah, Magda was already kind of creeping up in terms of like win rate and everything, and so I don't think they lost anything from that. Also, they just generate a lot of mana.
Genuinely, yeah,
just a lot. It's just literally, I'm gonna tap this. Oh wow, look, sick.
hey, is that a treasure?
Wow.
Nice.
Ooh, piece of candy.
Dude.
Ooh, 3 pieces of candy.
Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces of candy. Ooh, 3 pieces
But yeah, I think that's a good last pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, TK and Chris, are there lists or are there commanders that you want to try? Maybe not as like a top tier list, but that with this call, you might think has a chance of being viable.
What do you think, TK?
What do you think? I mean, I think I've already talked about mine too. Like Rogsi is already. You guys know how I feel about that. I got a raw with my name on it, literally. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you guys are screwed. But, and here's what's funny is like everybody was like, man, Rog needs to be banned, like way back with the whole RC thing, and I was like, no, don't do that to me. And now everybody else's stuff got banned. I'm like, ha!
Feel my pain.
Dude,
get wrecked,
dude. Rog dodged the bullet, caught it in midair, and threw it back at everyone else.
It was so funny because I was like so sad. Everyone was like, yeah, Rog needs to be banned. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll look for another deck. And that's what made me go and look at TNT. I was like, okay, we'll see what this deck can do, I guess. Because nothing else really, like, I don't know. I, like, tried other decks and stuff like that. And especially for the channel, I tried to diversify stuff. But I was just like, I don't know. Nothing else really catches my fancy like this dumb Gabo, a Kobold, and his artifact mommy friend. I don't know. And so, like, so yeah, I was just like, yeah, this kind of sucks. And then when I read the ban list and Rog was nowhere to be seen, but Dockside and everything was, I was like, sick, dude. All right. But
in the corner. Woo.
Yeah, literally, everybody's like, no, rioting, and I'm like, I mean, I'm having a great time actually. But outside of that, TNT, like I said, I've been winning with it. I haven't taken it to a tournament yet, but I have been playing it in competitive spaces. I've been playing it on online leagues. And it's been winning, and I'm just surprised that it keeps winning so much. So at some point, I will definitely actually take it to a tournament and see how it can do in that space. I think it'll do well as compared to what it's doing now. It's shocking me, dude. I keep looking at it like, stop doing that. Stop winning. You're not supposed to. And they're over there like, no, I don't know.
But we will do.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing it.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah.
Well,
what about you?
Well, me. At risk of ruining my friendship with TK, I have thought about putting Tyam together. I have a foil Tyam and a foil Hex Drinker chilling in my binder.
All right, y'all. This has been an amazing episode of IBC. Thank you guys so much for coming. Yeah, we're gonna cut it off right then and there because the storm, man, it's kind of coming crazy. Yeah. No, what were you saying, Rick?
I don't know. I am moving from one annoying deck that doesn't know how to win into even
another
more annoying deck that really doesn't know how to win. And part of my dumb monkey brain thinks that's very funny. In all actuality, I think I have my hands in a couple different little things here and there that I am excited to test out and look. And I'm not going to lie, 2 of them are on the list I didn't even talk about today. So maybe we'll talk about it at another time on another episode.
Ooh, Patreon content? Possibly.
Patreon.
Yeah. Give us money.
Okay.
Wait, hold on, TK. We don't have a Patreon yet.
Y'all don't have a Patreon. Give me money. Yeah. TK.
Oh, man.
I think that is a good end to this episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Does anybody have any closing words?
Not that I can think of.
Good word. Nice. Then
I'm kissing all of our subscribers.
You got a lot of kisses to go through.
God have mercy. God have mercy.
I wanted to fade to black him still doing that.
Well, at risk of
you get two.
Ruining everybody's ears. Thank you guys so much. We do appreciate you guys. And just remember, we're all in this together.
Everyone.
And we see them.